Hi there, it's Jared from Authentic Soundware, here to show you a free tool that I hope will help you in your composing process. I made this little tool. I can't really call it an instrument, although it works inside of Kontakt. The basic usage is to load it up inside an instance of Kontakt running in standalone mode. Alongside SKETCHPAD, you'd also load up one of your favorite Kontakt instruments, and that would be the sound you hear while you're composing, while SKETCHPAD will just record everything you're playing. And then when it's done, you drag a MIDI file of your recording to a location on your computer, like to the timeline of your DAW or into your favorite notation program like Sibelius or something, to later refine and develop your idea. Or you could record a long improvisation outside of the DAW without the temptations to edit and tweak and judge that thing you just played. And then you come back later and select the best parts of your performance and develop them into a full composition. You can also use SKETCHPAD within your DAW as a sort of separate note-taking tool to capture ideas outside the context of your main sequence, and then you could easily save them to use, later in that current project, or just save them for another time. So let's take a look at how it works. To get started, I've opened up Kontakt in standalone mode, and I've added an instance of SKETCHPAD, and I've also added an instance of our Space Age Rhythm orchestra shorts and bass, the upright bass. Now I've got these assigned to independent MIDI channels coming out of my keyboard. So I've got the orchestra shorts on channel 1 and the bass on channel 2. Now, but you'll notice in SKETCHPAD, I've got it set to Omni because I want to record everything. So this is one of the cool things about SKETCHPAD. It's going to get any MIDI coming into the channel to which it's assigned. So you can use it for MIDI merging and stuff like that later. I'll get into that. But I want to record everything, so I've got it on Omni. So let's just make sure this is working. Okay. Now, of course, you could load any instruments that you want here, and it could be a string ensemble, and you could be recording your volume moves with your mod wheel and stuff like that. SKETCHPAD will record all of that. At the moment, it's not recording poly aftertouch, and so just be aware of that. So let's just take a quick look at the UI. First, we have some basic transport controls. Then we have optional settings, more on these later. We have the MIDI file drag zone that you'll use to export the final MIDI file when you're done. And here we have a text input field where you can give your recording a name. So let's call this, my sketch. Okay, so I'm going to start by making sure that this button follow host is off and that play ref is off too. Now I'm going to click record, which enables record mode, but we're not recording yet. It's just like a normal tape deck. So then we push play to begin the recording, and I'll play something. Okay, so now I'll press stop, and you'll notice that the UI has changed in the drag area because now there's some MIDI to export. To do so, all you have to do is click and drag it wherever you want, such as into the timeline of your DAW, into a notation program like Sibelius or Finale. For now, I'm just going to drag it to the desktop. And you'll notice that the file name matches the name that we put in this text field here. Now, what if I want to play back what I recorded? I can click play. It says playback in progress, but I'm not hearing anything. That's because MIDI in Kontakt doesn't flow between instruments. So if I enable this button, play ref, and try again, you're going to hear the notes of my performance played back using a very basic electric piano sound that I included just for this purpose of verifying what was actually recorded. So let's check that out. Okay, and then when it gets to the end, it just stops automatically. So in practice, you'd really drag that MIDI file into a DAW or something where you've got a more sophisticated playback situation going, and you would just route the MIDI into Kontakt in the normal fashion. Okay, so that's our first sketch done. If we now press record to begin a new recording, a warning, we're about to overwrite the last sketch that we did. Kontakt can only hold one MIDI file at a time, so be sure to drag out any MIDI that you want to save before beginning a new recording. It's probably a good idea to also give each file a unique name too. So you can cancel out of this if you need to go back and do what I just said, or you can hit OK. Your MIDI buffer is going to be overwritten, and as soon as you press play to start the recording, it's gone and you're on to the new sketch. Okay, just a quick note about the available recording space. The Kontakt MIDI object allows for 1 million events. This includes note on, note off, continuous controller messages, sustain pedal, mod wheel, that kind of thing. And you'll see a number displayed of the available events. So once you, here I'll play, if I start a recording, you'll see that number is going down. Okay. If I've never reached 1 million, but you guys might. And when you do, right before 1 million, you're going to hear a little chirping sort of warning sound, letting you know that the recording is about to stop. Okay. Just a quick note about tempo. You need to bear in mind that in standalone mode, the MIDI file that's going to be generated will refer to the tempo set in the Kontakt master section here. So if you're not looking at seeing this, you need to go up here and make sure that this master pane is visible. And this is going to be the tempo of the MIDI file. You can set it to whatever you want. You may want to make note of the tempo that you use during recording if it's something you might, be coming back to later in a different context. Also keep in mind that the timing of events in a MIDI file don't refer to chronological time. This is not like an audio recording. They always refer to tempo, bars and beats and ticks. So you don't have to play rhythmically or play to a click track, but the MIDI file that you export will always end up being played back with timing relative to the tempo of your DAW or your, Sibelius, or in this case, Kontakt. When I play this back, now that I've changed the tempo, it'll play back slower. I think we were at 220 or something before. Now we're at 120. I have reference off. Okay, that was just example notes. But anyways, so just a quick note about that. If you want to record to a click track while in standalone mode, enable follow host here and turn on the click in Kontakt's master pane. And then use the mini transport controls up here to work in the same manner I'm about to demonstrate that you would use within a DAW. And also be aware that there actually is a song position. It's not just free-flowing. So at the end of a recording, it doesn't return to 0, and you need to manually click that to set it back to 0. Otherwise, your MIDI file is going to reference a point in the song. Any subsequent MIDI files you make will reference a later position in the what they call a song position in the MIDI spec. Okay, so let's go to the DAW. Okay, so now let's talking about using this inside a DAW instead of in standalone mode. There's 2 ways to do so. The first is to leave follow host off and then do everything the exact same way as I demonstrated when I was working in standalone mode. It's just like its own freestanding recorder. The only thing you need to be aware of is this button here, external or not. So if you have external, on, it's going to the tempo will be set to the tempo of the DAW. If you turn external off, you're freewheeling with this controller here. Okay, I'm going to put it back to external. The second way is to turn follow host on, and when it's enabled, the SKETCHPAD play and stop buttons will follow the play and stop commands of your DAW's transport controls. However, the record enable button remains independent. Okay, so you can't go into record on your DAW and have this turn on, which really is desirable. You wouldn't want to accidentally be overwriting something. The advantage of working this way is that the starting point of any MIDI file exported from the sketch will be relative to the position of the playhead in your DAW. So, you could brainstorm some specific ideas for a section of your composition and then drag them exactly where it's supposed to go. So to make a new sketch this way, you would turn record on. Okay, it's going to say start host playback to begin recording. I'm going to I have the click turned on in Pro Tools, and I guess for this purpose, I'll turn the count off, so we'll just get going right away. Okay, so and instead of clicking on the play button here, now I'm just going to press play in Pro Tools. Okay, we're recording. Now I can either press stop here and the playback will continue, or I can press stop in the DAW. There are occasions where you might SKETCHPAD might get out of sync with what you're doing if you're going back and forth between follow host and pressing stop manually or using the transport of the DAW. If it ever kind of seems confused, just hit this reset button here. I won't do that yet because I'm just going to show you we can now just drag that MIDI out onto the timeline, and there it is. Now, one thing to be aware of is that now that there's MIDI on this timeline, if I were to go into record right here, that MIDI will go into SKETCHPAD, and we could possibly, duplicate something, or you might want to be on a clean track that has no MIDI present on it, just to avoid that scenario. On the other hand, it could be useful if, for instance, you wanted to merge some MIDI performances down to one file. You could assign the outputs from a bunch of MIDI tracks into this instance of Kontakt set to Omni, and then go into record, and they would all get combined down into one single file. So that's basically all there is to it. I'll just play this back and show you that now, with no recording on, you can listen back to your actual performance. So that's a quick rundown of SKETCHPAD. It requires the full version of Kontakt, 6.7 and up. I've been demonstrating it in version 6, but it works in version 7 as well. And while it's free, you do need to check out through our store so that we can send you a personalized Pulse redemption code. You'll also need a free Pulse downloader account. This way, it'll be much easier for you to do the install and to perform any updates that might come out in the future. So that's it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you find this to be a useful tool for your creative process. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below, or just send me an email through the website. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, all the best. Bye.